Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs, where we're trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. But if we can't do that, at least we're having fun talking about it. Today is the season finale of season 3. It's hard to believe that I've done 3 seasons already, and I've spoken with so many amazing guests and had so many incredible conversations. And today is also one of those incredible conversations with an incredible guest. I am joined by Jill Smokler, who was the founder of the award-winning parenting blog, Scary Mommy. She's also a New York Times best-selling author and entrepreneur. She is the OG mommy blogger. Her authentic voice has impacted millions of parents throughout the years. And she is just an absolute icon. I hold her in such high regard. I put her on such a pedestal because she is just the OG when it comes to all of this. Forbes magazine had named Jill a top-tier parenting influencer, and she's been featured on the Today Show, Good Morning America, Nightline, so many things. She's a frequent guest speaker at a variety of media and women-centric conferences. Like I said, she is the OG. And when I think about mommy blogging, which I hate that phrase, but let's just say parenting blogging, Scary Mommy is always the first one that comes to mind. I used to write as a freelance content creator for Scary Mommy back in the day. And so I'm going to ask Jill about that too. Earlier this year, she was diagnosed with brain cancer. And let that just sink in for a second. That is so heavy. And she shares her story about that. I first learned about that on Threads, reading through Threads. And Jill and I are going to chat about it too. So without further ado, I am so fangirling to say, Jill Smokler, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I am absolutely fangirling. When I worked up the courage to reach out to you, I was like, she's going to say no because you're Jill Smokler.
Right. So I would never say no.
I, you, to me, like, I hold you on such a pedestal. You are like the OG mommy blogger. You're everything that I ever hoped my brand would be. You and I actually had a similar start in as much as I worked at Nickelodeon before I started Modern Mom Probs. And
what did you
have
there?
some ties to that as well, right?
I do. It was a weird time. I was managing the community at, what was it called?
Parents Connect. Was it Parents Connect?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. While really trying to build Scary Mommy. And I was always like kind of torn between like, if I'm promoting this group of parenting people and I have my own, it always felt like a bit of a conflict. But yeah, I just stayed there and met some people, good people who I'm still in touch with. So grateful for that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So at the time, we actually may have been there at the same time. I don't really know. I was Steve Youngwood's assistant, and Steve Youngwood at the time was the head of digital. He was the EVP of digital. So he would have overseen Parents Connect, Nick Jr., Nick.com, all of that kind of stuff. And so I was Steve's assistant for several years before I went into the digital marketing team and worked on social media. But that was in 2012. But I started working for Steve in 2007.
Okay.
So I don't know if there was any overlap on that one or not.
Honestly, I feel like since I don't even know, but I just have no sense of time. Like the pandemic just killed it all. Like I have no idea.
It just squashed the whole thing. Yeah.
I was in my mommy blogging years for sure in 2012. I started in 2008 and then left Scary Mommy in 2018.
Wow. That is wild. I remember, so I started Modern Mom Probs in 2016, early 2016. But then I started it as NYC Mom Probs, and I was talking about like New York City Mom Problems. Changed the name to Modern Mom Probs in April of 2017. Then the account just took off from there. But it was either 2016 or 2017. I remember I was reposted by Scary Mommy, and I thought, like, this is it. Like, it was one of my memes, right? And I was like, this is it. It made my entire career. I was like, I could just retire now, just from like the sheer excitement of that. And I didn't even notice it at first. It was my friends had like DM'd me and were like, Tara, like this, like I said, this is like so early days, like early 2016s, like nothing more exciting than getting reposted by Scary Mommy. We were just like, I was over the moon. I was like so excited. So like, how did you get into mommy blogging in the first place?
Pretty accidentally. I had just moved back to Maryland, and I was living in this new neighborhood with no friends in the area at all. And I was just like, drowning in little kids. And I had a friend who had started a blog, really like a photography blog, but I was just looking for something to do. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll do a blog and write little stories about the kids. And I sent it to like maybe 15 of my family and friends and just figured that's what it would be. It was in the days when we would do those like awful Shutterfly and Snapfish, like photo album montages.
I remember, because that's my son's whole like infancy and toddlerhood, or all of that.
Yes.
I don't even know. Do people still do that? I don't even know.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
But I thought, like, I'll do this in lieu of that, so I won't drive everyone crazy, and I won't, and they can opt in to read it or not. And I just committed to writing something every day. Sometimes it was like essays, sometimes it was the equivalent of a meme now, or like just pictures or a little story. But it just, I don't know how it, like the first step of it escaping my little inner circle, but somehow it did. And I got a comment one day, just a nice comment, but I was just like, I don't know Shirley, whatever her name is. Why is
Shirley? Who invited her?
But why is she telling me how cute my child is? And then she had, or whoever this person was, had a blog that they hyperlinked to, and I clicked over there and I was like, oh my God, it's a whole world. Like, I thought it was just a way of like pushing out your own content to your own people. Like, I had no idea there was a community that you could reach people you didn't know in real life. And then when I figured that out, I was like, okay, like, I'm over the lack of people in my real life. Like, I'm gonna like cozy up and get comfortable on the internet, because it seems like there could be people like me, which I was so desperate for. And there were. And slowly over the course of like 2 years, I transitioned it from being just me writing about my life and kids to more of a community generated site. Which is when it took off, and I added a confessional to it, which still, at least when I left, was still like the main driver of traffic to the site, because you can type in I thought they'd all be parenting. They are not, but you could type in your confession and then click and see other people's and just, get lost. And in this world of making yourself feel better about all your failures.
Yeah, I mean, the confessionals were always like one of the best things. But I think one thing that really set Scary Mommy apart from other blogs or competitors is how good the writing was. And so your voice and the voices of the people that you hired were just so good and so authentic that moms, parents everywhere just like really resonated with it and being like, yes, that's how I feel. And it was funny and it was witty and it wasn't just, I don't know, like, so what's the word I'm looking for? Idealistic about motherhood, and so it was so real and we appreciate you for that. It's interesting. The story that you tell about why you started talking about parenting is the same reason why I started Modern Mom Probs. Is I was living in New York City. I had just had my son. I left Nickelodeon full time, decided to stay home with him full time. I wanted to go part time. It wasn't in the cards. They just said no. It was like full time work or nothing. And I was like, all right, that's fine. So I said nothing. And so I stayed home with him. And when he was 3, when you have toddlers, there's just like so much content. It's just a content machine, right? It dries up a little bit as they get older, but having a 3-year-old is just like content all day, every day.
Oh, they run the site themselves.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah. They really do. And so that's when I started my Instagram account. Like I said, it was early 2016. And I just was looking for a way to connect with other people because I didn't have in-person friends. Yeah. In-person mom friends. And even though I was going to Central Park every day and trying to like chat with moms at the playground, it just didn't work. And so I made my friends online and just like you did. So it's a similar path, sort of similar like origin story. It's our villain story. No, I'm just kidding. But it's like, did you ever expect Scary Mommy to become what it did?
No, definitely not. I don't know if I'd say I'm business minded, but once it seemed like there was something to it and maybe, it could be monetized in some way and keep me from going back to my full-time job, which I was on maternity leave when I started it. Mm-hmm. And so when advertisers started showing interest or, influencer stuff started happening, I was like, okay, like if I really put 100% into this, like maybe it could become something. So it wasn't like completely accidental, but it was all in an effort to keep me from going back to work for somebody else. Because
right,
that's my nightmare.
Yeah, I hear you. And then it was acquired by some spider.
Correct. And that was 17, I believe. So it was climbing. We had just hit like 1 million Facebook fans. Traffic was really good. And it was too much. Like it was just all I thought about. Like everything was Scary Mommy. And the main pressure came from the fact that I was now paying a staff and like supporting their lives and their family. And I just felt like that was so much and I couldn't handle it. And I needed an out and I didn't know, in retrospect, I mean, I really should have done a lot more exploring. But I sort of had an accidental conversation with somebody and it led to more serious conversations. And like, before I knew it, it was like, oh, okay, I guess we're selling this. So I sold it and I worked there with the company who bought it for 2 years. It was highs and lows. I mean, it was so fun to go into this, beautiful office in Chelsea with Scary Mommy on the door and like big neon sign. Like that's pretty cool. And like all this swag, like that was really fun. But then I would be sitting at like a board table with all of these men in charge, just like banging my head against the wall. Did I really give this to you? Do I really have to have a conversation about like what female anatomy language we can use? Like, really?
You're like, what alternate, like upside down world am I in now? Right?
Exactly. It was, the irony of, sorry, go ahead.
No. I want to hear the irony.
No, I was just going to say the irony of really committing to Scary Mommy because I didn't want to work for somebody else. And then there I was with Scary Mommy working for somebody else.
Right, exactly.
Like, I should have known the future was not ideal with that.
Well, at the time, you probably didn't think, you were thinking of the well-being of this baby being Scary Mommy, and you didn't necessarily, and your own mental health, obviously, right? Because you're only one person. And so you thought, like, I'm doing the best that I can. And so, hindsight is always 20/20. So
totally. And also, frankly, money is helpful in life.
Also, that
now
too.
I'm learning that much more.
It's not like they took it for free.
Right.
It's not that they were like, "Oh, we'll just take this off your hands, Jill.
Right.
Don't worry about
tired.
it. You could sleep at night now. Like, don't worry. It wasn't that. Like, obviously, you were compensated for it. So that plays a huge part into deals as well.
Right. I just feel like I did, in retrospect, did not do, they did so much due diligence about, looking into like every single post and if making sure it was signed off on and just all this stuff. Like I did not do mine. If I had it to do over again, I would definitely have taken that more seriously.
Right. No, that makes sense. I actually used to write memes, write social content for Scary Mommy for years, like a long time. I worked under, I guess technically that was Samantha and Maria.
Yep.
Yeah. So I worked under them for a long time until.
Yeah, I miss working with them.
They were great. They really were great. They were funny and they were so clever. And they're good people. So shout out to the original Scary Mommy team, Scary Mommy social team. They're good people. Where was I going with that? I was going with social Scary Mommy. Oh, I want to talk about, I lost my own train of thought thinking about Samantha and Maria and Joanna and the team and all the people, the wonderful people that we worked with there. Who again are some of the funniest moms out there, like right across the board. And now we're in a new age, I think, of social media influencers and mommy bloggers and all of that kind of stuff. The internet has changed so much from 2008, let's say, when you started writing this, or 2012 when you're writing this, to here we are now at the end of 2024, which is just right. I've seen so many changes even from when I started doing this in 2016 to where we are now. So I would love to just like pick your brain and get some of your insights into like, what do you think about the current state of parenting influencers and blogging?
I have mixed feelings because obviously the content doesn't apply to me anymore, so it's not really super interesting. But it makes me sad how everything has been like condensed into such little small sound bites. I feel like people have no attention span. People don't want to read. And I just don't like reels and stories and videos. Like they just seem so contrived. And I don't know if it's the stage I'm at in my life that I just don't. Yeah, I don't love where things have gone. But sorry, my brain is operating at like 20% always.
Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.
That's okay. I feel the same way. So to jump in on that, like, I don't know if it's just me and it's like, well, maybe because I'm just doing this so long and then you sort of feel like, I don't know if haggard's the word, tired maybe, like of seeing the same jokes that we were doing, let's say in 2016 that people are like still putting out now. And you're like,
right, it's all the same.
It's all the same stuff. And then even I remember I worked with, you probably were gone at Nickelodeon at this time, but they had launched something called Nick Mom in 2012.
Yep, I remember
and
that.
It's like, well, that I distinctly remember being like, it was so like wine heavy at the time. Even then, I was actually pregnant with my son. So I wasn't officially a mom yet. I mean, I was a mom to be. And I remember being like, I don't even know if these jokes resonate then. And so like those, like some of those jokes do still carry over. And that was, 2012. And some of those jokes, like just simply, I don't think would fly nowadays. But my point is that I just feel like there's just like so much of the same like rehashed stuff over and over again. And I wonder if it's because it's always just like a new generation of moms that are stepping into this industry where we've been doing it for so long that we're just like over it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there will always be new moms and new people, new women who were placed in this weird position all of a sudden where we're supposed to like know everything. And my issue is really just the
sort of the dumbing down of the material.
The dumbing down of the material and how like Scary Mommy, even once it became sort of a business machine, was still, I feel like we still had quality control.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like there's any of that now. And everything is so scripted. And I mean, I just cringe when I watch young parenting content.
I do too. And again, I don't know. I thought it was like just me. I was like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I should just like hang up my boots and just call it a day. Because sometimes I see this stuff and I'm like, really? Is that what we're in? And I often tell people, one, I don't like reels. I say this all the time. It's just not my cup of tea. It's not what I signed up for when I started making social content. I signed up for making memes, whether it was for my account or whether I was getting paid to do it for Scary Mommy. I love a good one-liner. I love a quippy one-liner. That's where I excel. And there's that. But then also, I mean, it's not like I only do one-liners. I wrote a whole book, right? So it's like there's 300 pages of not just one-liners in that. So my friends and I, when we all started on Instagram, we were all writers. Everyone, I didn't know anybody that wasn't a writer and that whose end goal wasn't to get like a publishing deal. Now, some of them did and some of them didn't, but that's what it was when we started back in the day. And there's so little writing now on social media, and everything is a 7-second soundbite or a 7-second reel. And myself, I'm guilty of that nowadays too, because you're just trying to keep up with the trends. But I hate reels, and I say it all the time.
So
it's
annoying.
It's like it's not what I signed up for, and so I think that's for me like why I struggle lately with social media, because I just like this dichotomy of like this is what you should be doing, and it's like, yeah, I know what I should be doing, but I don't want to be doing that, and so I would rather have long form conversations like this, which is obviously what I do here on the podcast every week. So it's not like I don't believe in long form. Obviously, I do, but I think that parents are so overwhelmed with the amount of information they receive that adding to the noise of that with a 7-second reel doesn't help. You know, it's just everything's just like so consumable. So I don't know, that's what it is. And so the time that one would take to read an article in Scary Mommy, which let's just say it's a 5-minute read, right? A 5-minute dedication of time is very different from a 5-second dedication of time. And I don't know. That's just, I don't even know where I'm going with that. But I think that's just sort of where we're heading in terms of media consumption. Whether it's good or bad, that's a different story, you know? But yeah, I feel frustrated with the state of things nowadays. And again, maybe that's just like, all right, Terry, you're old, like just move on, which then actually leads me into the next thing. You have a new brand called She's Got Issues, which is for older moms.
Yes, I should have mentioned this beforehand, but I was like, for the last 2 years, I've been trying to get this She's Got Issues brand going. And like 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with brain cancer. So at that point, I was like, why am I trying to build another business? Like, I want to focus on the kids. I want to,
live your life.
Just exactly.
Yeah.
So I stepped away from that. But I love brand building. I think it's so fun. And I came up with these little travel tissues. So She's Got Tissues.
Oh my God.
That's just like my favorite thing I've ever created.
Oh, that's so clever. I am obsessed. I love that. That's so good.
So that was meant to be sort of like the Scary Mommy part 2 or like the next
stage.
phase
Sure.
that we're in. Yeah, I mean, ironically, I have more issues than ever, but I don't know. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
What that's going to look like. Like, would
Right.
that end up, like, do you think that you could foresee that going to another larger media company? Because, like, you've started building the brand and you say, here, I'm going to sell this and just move on?
No, not for this. Yeah, I don't think I want to do that again. I'm debating.
Yeah, it was too much.
I'd love to write another book. My first 2 books were very just like a compilation of essays, just like blog posts compiled in a book.
Yep.
I'd like to do something with a little more depth. My focus is not great, so that is not going swimmingly. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, I mean, if it's okay, I wanted to ask you about your health. How are you doing today?
Today I'm okay. I haven't been sleeping great this week, but not bad. I just got back from California, met with a doctor out there who's doing a lot of stuff with this trial in Germany, this vaccine trial, which I'm eligible for. So I might be going to Germany in the new year for treatment. So it's a bad diagnosis, and there's not a cure, and there's not great treatment, and it hasn't changed in like 20 years. And this country is not the one to be in for brain cancer treatment.
No, not the country to be in for a lot of treatments,
much of
unfortunately. I was going to say much of anything right now, actually. I'm so sorry, Jill. I am just, there are no words, but I want you to know that, like, I hold space for you.
Thank you.
In this diagnosis and this journey that you're going on, because again, there are no words. There's nothing that I can say that can take away this situation, but I just want you to know that I'm here for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
When you got this diagnosis, like what like even went through your head, like with the kids and your life, and you were like, I'm too young for this shit.
Yeah, when I first got the diagnosis, it was strange because with glioblastoma, they have to get the tumor out like immediately. So once they do the MRI and see that there's a brain tumor, they take it out and then they sort of diagnose you and have to figure out exactly what it is. So I woke up in the hospital and they told me I had a brain tumor, and I didn't understand. First of all, I didn't even know if I knew what glioblastoma was, but I didn't understand the severity of it. I was just sort of like, oh, that's so dramatic. Like,
you're like, all right, calm down, doctor. Right, exactly. What are you, a brain surgeon or something?
Exactly, for real. And then we found out what it was, and my mom basically moved into my house and has been here since April. It's now November. So that's been interesting. That is a blog worthy.
I'm sure it's probably a whole book that you could write.
It seriously is, because I don't think I want to relive it while writing it.
Yeah, that's true.
But so yeah, that's where we are now. I'm on a chemo break. I did chemo for a couple months, and then you take a break, and then you start it up again. So I'm starting it up next week, which I'm not looking forward to, but it is what it is.
But here we are, unfortunately.
No,
I understand. You recently went to a Taylor Swift concert, right?
I did.
How was that?
It was awesome. It was, she's so ridiculous. I mean, just like when you look around at the stadium and how many people are there and everybody is captivated by her, and she's just like, she's crazy. So it was super fun. I went with my best friend. It was in New Orleans, which was a really fun city.
That's fun. I love New Orleans. It's one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, it's fun. I'd only been there once before, but like every store was decked out with like specials, like bracelets were everywhere. Like it was just very celebratory.
That's really cute.
So, yeah.
New Orleans is good about that. New Orleans is a good celebration city. They celebrate life in New Orleans.
Yeah, they do seem to. And the food was so good.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was really fun. The one thing I regretted was my friends and I just like bedazzled these vote t-shirts and we're like, we're just gonna go as like Taylor, please make it an out, like just do something. So we just went as like voting. But I wish I picked an era because people got so decked out. So if I were to do it over again, I would have, yes, people went, I mean, there were so many people in like the little, what are they even called? Bodysuits? Like leotards? Like whatever she wears. Like masses of people in that. And then in the fuzzy jackets. And yeah, people really went all out.
Wow. I have not been to a concert, so I had not been to a Taylor concert, so I don't know. I did watch the one on Disney Plus though. And I feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't feel the energy through television, obviously, in the same way that you would being in the stadium with, 80,000 other people just singing along and just like feeling each other's energy. So I could only imagine how amazing that was. So you went with your friend. You didn't even go with the kids.
Oh, no.
No. You're like, no, these kids are going to stay home. That's why grandma's here.
Exactly. It was my 50th birthday present to my best friends.
That's amazing. That's a good birthday. I'm turning 45 in March, so I'm going to have to start thinking of like a good 45 present.
Yeah. Big birthdays with friends are fun.
Yeah, they are. I need some more friends. Do you want to do something chill? All of my friends are online. All of my friends are content creators. I have very few in-person friends. They're mostly all over the place.
Yeah, I was like that for a chunk. And now I have like a handful of friends who were just sort of scattered and then one local one who's, in the inner circle. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense though. It's hard to make mom friends. It's hard to not only like make mom friends initially, but then also like keep them going throughout the years, because I find it was much easier when my son was like younger in elementary school. He's in middle school now, and the parents are not as involved in things as they were when the kids were younger. And so it's sort of lonely again. It was like lonely when they were like really, really little. And then like elementary school was like, I don't know, chock full of friends. And then like middle school, and I'm going to assume that high school is kind of like lonely again for parents.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. There's even, and I'm such an introvert, and getting me to like leave the house to go to like a parents' conference or like, back to school night or something is hell. But yeah, people aren't seeking each other out the way you are when the kids are little.
Yeah.
And then once they're like in middle school, out of middle school, and they start making their own plans and you're not working through the parents anymore. That's a weird thing.
No, that's a very weird thing. Yeah. Lately, my son's friends have been making plans like together, but then the parents are like, no, that's actually not the case. And I was like,
right.
Oh, okay. So then I'm trying to like piece together like what the plans actually are. Like, should I listen to the kids? I mean, obviously I have to listen to the parents, but it's interesting. So we're almost there, but not quite there as far as, just going directly to it. But yeah, I find that it's lonely again. And so I don't know, maybe I just have to get out more, make some.
No, I think you're right. Though. I feel like there is like a grace period, like where it's easy and then it just sort of ends.
Yeah. No, my son is 12, and so he'll be 12 this month. And so, yeah, we're sort of getting into that, not, hanging out with the moms, or then the moms like already have their own established relationships. So then like you're not coming into their established group because they already have an established group. So you're sort of just floating on a breeze. I feel like I'm definitely floating on a breeze lately.
Does your son play sports?
Not really. He does American Ninja Warrior, like parkour. And he's actually very good at that. He's like a little monkey. He's like, climbing up. So he does that on Tuesdays. And we actually bring a friend of his because she does it also. So it's like a half an hour away. So like we drive them back and forth and then drop her off. And then on Wednesdays, he just started this new martial arts called Kumdo, which is the Korean version of Kendo, which is like a sword martial art. It's actually really cool. He's like walking around. It's a fake sword. It's a bamboo sword, with this like bamboo sword, and he's like practicing that. So he's only 3 lessons into that, and he started it because he has a friend that's new to his school, and his friend was doing it. So the two of them are in a class together.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. He's into very cool, very unique things. So like to say like, oh, does he play soccer, basketball, football?
Right.
No. So we don't have that community. He does more individualized sports where I just drop him off and then pick him up an hour later. So it's different. So I lack the community there.
No, and that's interesting to me because my youngest is I don't know if he's neurodivergent, if I'd use that, but he's not like the typical boy who wants to be on like a soccer team, a sports team, but those sound like they would really appeal to him. That's interesting.
I think they would. Those two sports tend to be very popular with kids that are neurodivergent. So that maybe
sense.
have a hard time with competition or playing on the team, or maybe they feel shy to be performing in front of others, whatever it happens to be. So not that I know your son, but I feel like I kind of know your son by how you described him. Just in that very little bit, I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar. So yeah, but my son loves the American Ninja Warrior. And like I said, he's super good at that. He's like, boop, boop, boop. He'll climb a rope in like 2 seconds, from like the ceiling to the
And are you
floor
just
to
like
the
sitting
ceiling.
there cringing the whole time?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, oh my God. He's doing all the things that you watch on the show, American Ninja Warrior. He does that, like boop, boop, boop. No
That's
problem.
awesome.
Yeah, he's a beast. But never cared for any other, sports teams necessarily. And so I support him in whatever he wants to do. So we'll do Warrior. And like I said, he just started this new martial art because a friend of his introduced him to it, and he just took to it immediately. I wasn't sure how it was going to go because you have to wear a certain uniform. It has like big flowy pants. The uniform is actually so badass. It is so cool looking. It has like these really big flowy pants with like this they're white, and then it has like this beautiful like black belt, like a sash. It's really cool. Like just it's like super, super cool. And so I wasn't sure if he was going to want to wear the uniform. Actually, he didn't want to wear the uniform at first. And I was like, dude, you have to. And so that was it. So yeah, he goes to the beat of his own drummer, but but I love that. And I wouldn't have it any other way for him because that's just who he is, and that's what makes him special. And
Oh,
I love him for
absolutely.
that.
My son is obsessed with Greek and Roman history, and like all he does in his free time is and he knows everything.
Oh my God, my son loves history
crazy.
too. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of the book series. It's called Horrible Histories. It's actually like
No.
it's a British series that my sister-in-law, who is from the UK, bought for my son for Christmas one year. He has read them all. So there's like a set, but you could buy individual ones, but it's Horrible Histories. And he has read them all, and I'm not exaggerating, probably 30 times. And there's probably maybe like 20 of them. It's all he ever wants to read. He reads other books for school and stuff, but like in his downtime or when he's like trying to fall asleep at night, he'll grab a Horrible Histories and he'll read through that. So I think your son would love the Horrible Histories for Greek and Roman history.
Okay, I will definitely look into that.
Yeah, and they'll probably have them on Amazon. Or an indie book. I don't want to, I always have to tell people, or an indie bookshop. But Horrible Histories, I tell people about it all the time because my son is just like obsessed with it. Yeah, I hadn't either. Like I said, it was shout out to my sister-in-law for getting that because it was something that she was raised on in the UK. And she was like, oh, you have to get these. And I was like, okay, cool. Done.
Very cool.
Done and done. So I wanted to ask you, Jill, what advice would you give your 30-year-old self now? So here you are, 50-ish, right? What would you tell your 30-year-old self?
It's so grossly cliche, but I don't know. I think I'm going to have to go with like appreciate the now because it goes by so fast. My 30s, I had little kids. My kids are each like 20 months apart. And I have 3 of them. And yeah, I mean, when I look back at like my favorite periods of my life. My early 30s are definitely up there. And it's hard, you don't know that when you're in it.
Well, that's I agree. That's the thing. And people often get mad when people are like, oh, we'll enjoy the moment when you're in the trenches and you're literally in survival mode. But you don't know that until you have the beauty of hindsight to be able to look back and be like, oh, remember how cute their little fingers were? Remember how cute it was when they snuggled you? You don't know that when you're literally cleaning up poop off the wall. So, right. but I agree. I think back about that time too. And I'm like, oh, or actually, not that I remember it in my own brain, but when my phone will serve me like memories of like, remember, like
killer.
Oh my gosh. My phone lately has been like really serving me up all kinds of memories.
My phone these days, all it says is, you are walking this many steps fewer than you were last year.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't need you to gaslight me, phone. How about you just stop? That's obnoxious. No, you need to have the pictures of the kids. My phone just yesterday sent me pictures of my son when he was, I don't know, probably 3 or 4. And I was like, oh my God, look how cute he was. And also too, then there's like the pictures of like pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, like most of the stuff, or like during the pandemic. Lately, my phone's been hot to trot to send me pictures of things that we were doing during the pandemic when we were on lockdown and stuff like that. Yeah, that's kind of wild. But you're right though. It's so hard to appreciate it when it's happening because, like I said, you're in the trenches, you're in survival mode, you can't sleep, and you're like in that fight or flight mode. And then when your kids, get to be in middle school, get to be in high school, it's different. I mean, not that there aren't sometimes when you're also in fight or flight mode when your kids are in middle school or in high school, because that totally happens. But it's a different, more sort of like cerebral way than cleaning poop off the walls.
Yes. Not quite so literal.
Not quite so literal, but it is true. When I first heard about your diagnosis, I think it was on Threads, and I love Threads, so shout out to Threads.
Too.
I love it.
It's the only social media thing in like the last 10 years that I have enjoyed.
Same. Absolutely same. I love it. I feel like it came full circle for me because I started writing quippy one-liners and now I could write quippy one-liners again. And so it came full circle. So I love Threads, and that's where I spend most of my time lately. And when I first heard about your diagnosis, I mean, one, I was just like absolutely shook because I was like, oh my gosh, she's so young. This like can't possibly be the case. Like, what? No, like, and then two, it made me think about what you just said about your advice to your 30-year-old self is appreciate everything. Even when you are cleaning poop off the walls, you don't realize how quickly and how fragile our lives are.
Yeah.
And I think that's such beautiful advice because so many times we take our time for granted. You're like, let me just, waste some time, or I'm just going to sit here scrolling. And your diagnosis really woke me up personally to that about like, I don't want to waste my time doing things I don't want to do. And so even if you don't realize how many people you're inspiring every day, you're inspiring so many people.
Well, thank you. That makes me happy. No, and it's much easier said than done. I mean, I'm not enjoying every moment now.
Well, no, I mean,
and I'm not.
It's shitty.
Well, and I feel like I'm trying to appreciate things and like be in the moment, but it's so much easier to just say it than actually do it.
Yeah, no, it is, because whether it's getting chemo or coming to terms with our own existence, like it's hard. It's shitty. It's hard. There are no two ways about that. It's not easy. And I'm so sorry that you're going through it. Like, I'm literally about to cry. Like, I'm so sorry, Jill. But thank you for inspiring us and making us laugh and just like keeping us going as parents. And like you, like I said, I've held on a pedestal for years and years. And I will continue to always hold you on a pedestal. So thank you for all of the things that you do.
Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so
Of course.
much.
So I'm going to ask you my last question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm curious what you're going to say about this one. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem right now?
I think it's what it always has been, which is just, it's, half of the country, world, whatever, are mothers, yet we feel so isolated and alone in that experience. I think it is, I think it's what it's always been.
For the same reason that you started Scary Mommy, for the same reason that I started
Right,
Modern
exactly.
Mom Probs,
just
right?
seeking out what we need, because we know we need more than just being with these little children
all day. Yeah. No, it's true. Do you think that social media comparison has really, one, increased, and two, played a big part into where the modern moms are right now?
Yeah, I feel very distanced from where especially young moms are now.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things like reels and stories and all that crap, I feel like those are so contrived and just done in such a performative way. And that's what just, I have problems with that. And then I don't know, I have a weird, like, sort of resentment / nostalgia for where we are.
Yeah. No, I could see that. It's interesting that you're saying performative, because that's always my takeaway with that kind of stuff too. When like someone is setting up a camera to record an event, or someone is setting up a camera to tape something that otherwise would be private, or maybe really should be private, and now it's like out there for public consumption. And so I'm a big believer of privacy and asking permission, and of your kids if they could be in a video or something like that, or really just like privacy. Honestly, I'm just going to lean in on that one, because not everything has to be public knowledge all the time. Like, why? Like, is that where we are now as a society? I don't know. People are going to come away from this episode being like, damn, Tara is salty.
No, it's true though. It's true. It's it just feels kind of gross.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, what's even making it, I don't know, grosser is that we've gotten to a point now where like everybody's just doing it for money too, and clout. It's like the money and the clout all together. So yeah,
it's funny.
tricky.
I'm starting to get, because I've been more active on Threads, and I hit that like 10,000, follower threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of like in the like mailing lists and radar of like all of these companies that are working with like new influencers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly the way it was 15 years ago, like where they come to you and be like, we want to offer you a jar of vitamins, and if you like it, do XYZ. And for a while we did it, and then we were like, no, we're worth way more than a jar of vitamins. Like, give us the money. And it's I think that's where people are now. And I think I don't know, I just like my entire feed is like moms who are promoting some project or some child or something.
Yeah, no, it is. It's always something, like I feel like when we got started, or at least I can speak for myself, like when I got started, we weren't like really promoting anything. We were making content just for fun, like it was like the art of it was like the cathartic part of it. It wasn't necessarily like I'm doing this because I have, I'm trying to get a brand deal. Actually, at the time, there actually weren't really brand deals on Instagram. So that came later. So I don't know, but I see what you're saying. Everything seems so performative and I don't know. It's just sort of the state of things. And so part of it is like, I don't know. Do I just have to say, yeah, well, this is the world now. This is what we're doing, and sort of just sit in that.
What's funny, you're making me think of memes differently because memes
do tell. Go ahead.
Well, memes were like the first step away from blogging, I felt like.
Yeah.
And I mean, they can be so funny. I feel like half of my camera roll is stupid memes. But I resented it because I felt like I spent so much time editing pieces and working with writers and like, just all the effort it takes. And then somebody can just like have a funny thought and it turns into like a viral, crazy sensation. I don't know, but the way you put it, I don't know, makes me sort of rethink that asshole attitude.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Like, I could definitely see if someone is writing 1,000-word essay or an article, right? And then here I am coming up with some sort of quippy thing that I thought as I was walking down the stairs. You're like, hello, what the heck, and
but your quippy thing is probably what people need more than they or can have the time, energy, whatever to consume than 1,000-word article. I mean, I think it fits the need better, at least certainly at this point.
Right. Well, then also, so let's say that was, 2017 when I was doing something like that, right? But then here we are now saying like, oh, people doing reels, like that might not be any different from my quippy one-liners because it was just like text and it wasn't like text over video, right? And so I don't know. Now maybe I'm just the one that's being the a-hole by being like, oh, I don't want to make reels because I just don't want to, when I really was the one that was the a-hole coming in on top of your articles. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's the cycle.
I do.
The cycle continues. And so I actually do think that there might be something to that. And I think you're right.
Where do we go from here?
I don't know. Isn't that interesting? And then with Threads, like I said, it kind of came back full circle. So it's interesting. And I think that everyone has a different talent, right? You are great at long form. I am better with quippy one-liners that sort of like jokes that pop into my head. And not even jokes, because I'll write sentimental things too, but shorter form things. And then some people are great with videos. And so I guess maybe the long and the short of it is everyone has to lean into what they love to create. And do it for the art and not just for like the performative aspect of it. I think that's what maybe sort of makes it a little gross is like, it's one thing if you're creating art because you love to create art or you're writing because you feel like you have to write this to get this out. And it's like when the things become performative, that's when there's like a little bit of the ick.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a distinct period of time after my husband and I split up where Bravo reached out to me wanting to do like a reality show about my family. And there were a couple other, there was like an effort to try to transition me into more of a personality, an influencer than like the editor of Scary Mommy. And I just had no interest in that, but it's interesting to think about like how things would have panned out had I done that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that because that was almost on the cusp of things of people being a personal brand. Because like back then things were very like the brand is Scary Mommy, the brand is Modern Mom Probs, right? And now it's like the brand is Jill Smokler, the brand is Tara Clark. And I actually had a call with Bravo once too because they wanted to. They had called me about being on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I made it through the first casting director, didn't get to the second casting director. Totally fine because I would have been like the world's worst housewife. I've never even watched the show, so it would have been even worse. It just so happened that I was like featured in a local magazine, which is why he called me. So yeah, it's interesting. And I've said this 1,000 times and I've said this for years. Modern Mom Probs was never the Tara Clark show. I never intended it to be the Tara Clark show. That was like never my goal. It was always about what are the modern mom problems, whether they were funny first world things, whether they were serious things like depression and pregnancy loss, like anything that falls underneath the umbrella of a modern mom problem is something I'm going to talk about, whether it's on my Instagram or whether it's on my podcast, right? And so I never wanted it to be the Tara Clark Show. And the zeitgeist of the industry changed into being a personal brand. So it's being the Jill Smokler Show, and here she is being this badass, kick-ass executive running Scary Mommy. And it changes things,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that I would have watched the show, I have to tell you. So.
Well, and likewise, I would have even watched a housewife show for you.
I would have been the single worst. I can't even begin to that. Like he and I, the gentleman, I had a good conversation. I remember it was like December of 2019. So it was like actually before the pandemic really hit. And it was before they brought in this one girl, Jackie. But yeah, I would have been terrible. I would have been snarky, and I would have been like, not it. I don't know.
You would have been what I would like to watch and why I don't like that show.
Yeah, that it just wasn't going to happen. But what can you do? Some things are better kept private. I think you have to just keep your. I'm a very private person, despite having like kind of sort of a public persona, kind of sort of. I think I'm still a very private person. People don't really know a lot of things about me. Not that long ago, I didn't ask me anything. Is that what it is? Ask me anything. And someone had asked me if I was a single mom, which I'm not. I was raised by a single mom, but I am in fact married to my high school sweetheart for 18 years. And I was like, no, I'm married, but like I never show my husband. So people just assume that like I didn't have one. And that's how private I am.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. But Jill, I could talk to you like forever and for always. And like, I never want to let you go because like I said, you've inspired me. You've inspired an entire industry. Like, think about that. Like what you created was the standard bearer for so many brands and businesses and people and writers. And some of my closest friends were all writers or content creators for Scary Mommy. And so your impact, like I cannot emphasize it enough of what you created and the ripple effect of moms coming forth and writing about their experiences and getting it out there and then reminding us that we're not alone. Like you started that. You were an integral part of that. Now it's not, I'm not saying that there weren't other mommy bloggers doing this at the same time. There absolutely were. So I'm going to tap my hat off to them. You weren't.
Yes.
Like,
and I wasn't the only one behind Scary Mommy either. I mean, I feel very, I appreciate everything you said so much, but it wasn't just me. Like there was, as you know, there's a whole team.
Yes.
And it started out with, I had a guest, I would write every day and then I would have a guest post Tuesday and Thursday, and I called it the Scary Mommy Society. And someone would write for me, and then I would write for them on their blog, and then it just got too much to manage when the traffic exploded. But thank you. That means a lot.
No, it does. It's true because in a time before personal brands, where a brand was a brand, like the Scary Mommy brand was it. Like that was, like I said, the standard bearer. So thank you. And thank you for always being so funny. And thank you for always being so real. Because even now, you were real when you had Scary Mommy. You were real when you had She's Got Issues. And you're real when you have cancer. You're real. Like you are just who you are. And you're going to tell us and you're going to keep us updated with everything that's going on.
I will.
Thanks so much for being here today, Jill.
Tara, thank you so much. It was great to talk to you. And now we're connected.
I know. You don't understand. Like, I'm still fangirling. We've been talking for an hour and I'm still fangirling the fact that I have you on the phone. So thank you, Jill.
Well, thank you. That was, I have a slew of icky calls today. So this was a very nice one to start out with. So thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest.
and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.
Did you know adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't? From swimming lessons to piano classes, as parents, we invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But how much are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids essential skills like earning, saving, and investing, giving them the tools for financial confidence. This investment costs less than an after-school treat at Starbucks. Start prioritizing their financial education today with Greenlight. Invest in their future at greenlight.com/podcast.
Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday.